The other day when we finally got Jan and Dusty to Rowdy Girl, it was, 2 weeks ago now?
I think it's been like 2 weeks ago.
It seems like
It was a
yesterday
Wednesday.
to me. I mean, we've been waiting so long to get them here, right? I mean, 7 months to get them here. And so I remember when you first contacted me, you want to just tell a little bit about, your reason for initially reaching out to me and just give that background.
Okay. We lived near a property that had about 13 cows at the most, off and on. And we started hand feeding them range pellets. But a little prior to that, this one particular cow seemed to be so aggressive. And I told Charlie, that's the meanest cow I've ever seen. I don't know much about cows, but I know a mean cow when I see one. And we'd go by and she would, paw at the dogs and kind of put her head down, and she wasn't happy about us being around. And
You're talking about Jan.
talk about Jan, big gray girl, and so we started hand feeding them eventually over time these range pellets, and we could hand feed just about everybody except Jan. She would eat them from the ground, but not from our hand.
These weren't y'all's cows, they were your
They
neighbors.
were our neighbors' cows. And so over time we realized that she wasn't mean at all. She was just trying to protect everybody. And some cows would have calves and not be especially interested in the calf, but Jan was. She was interested in her calves, everybody's calves. And we just fell in love with her. And then I came in the gate one day and passed a trailer and thought, I wonder who that is. And I just turned and looked and I thought, those are our friends in that trailer. And so we got over to the property and Jan was still there, and like 3 others maybe. I think maybe he had left. The property owner sold all but 5. And oh boy, little grandson just cried all the way home and wanted to know where this one was and that one was. As time passed, we realized that what a protector and how loyal she was to the herd, and just a great girl. So Charlie told the owner, because we didn't know what it was breaking our hearts to see any of them leave, but we were so attached to her. And Charlie told the owner, if you're ever going to sell her, we'd like to have her. We'll purchase her from you. And he said, oh, I'll never sell Jan. He had named her, I guess, and she'd lived there for about 12 or 13 years. And so he did decide to sell his property and was going to sell all of them. And we bought Jan, and we couldn't separate her from her calf, Dusty Rhodes. Charlie and our grandson named her, and so we bought them both. We don't have property where we could put them on the property. It's all forested and not fenced, and it's a rough acreage with a hill, and so we didn't know what we were going to do. We just knew that we owned these 2 little beings, and we needed to find a safe place for them because the property had been sold, and these folks did not want them on their property. And that was back in November. And I called you. I had passed your location when you were in Brazoria County years ago, and I thought, wow, what is that? What is Rowdy Girl? What is that? So I looked it up, and then when this came up with Jan and Dusty, I looked you up, not knowing that you had moved just down the road from us.
Oh, crazy.
And you answered. Well, no one answered, and you called me back immediately. And I'd already called a couple of places, and their voicemails said, we're full, but thanks for calling. And so we talked, and I cried over a big hippo cow with a beautiful heart, and here we are.
You did. You cried, and I cried, and I knew. that they needed to be here. I didn't know it was gonna take 7 months. Who knew? I mean, but when you explained, Jan, her personality to me, she reminded me of our cow Agape, you know, down the right. I mean, what do we used to call it? Agape, ED? ED, wasn't that right? Yeah, so we used to have, we still have her, you know, she's here now too, and she was the protector. Everybody would think she was really mean. I mean, that cow one time took Tommy right out of his shoes. She was the protector of all the cows, and now that we don't take her babies to sale barn anymore, now that she knows that she's safe, it's been years, all that furrowed brow, I mean, she used to just have wrinkly brow, and now it's all calm, it's all relaxed. She's going blind now, she's pretty much blind, and you can actually feed her a banana now. And so, you know, she wasn't mean, she was just protecting.
Yeah.
And so thank you for realizing that about Jan. So it took 7 months to get here. And so I remember Tommy saying, oh, you know, I'll go over and I'll help y'all, we'll get it done, we'll figure this out. And you know, Tommy, tell me what you thought would happen and how all that would take place.
I thought we'd go over there and find a set of pins and feed them into the trailer.
And what happened?
And we tried that, and it didn't work, and then we upgraded, and it didn't work, and we upgraded again, and then I pretty much left it in his hands, and he upgraded a couple times. And
But why didn't it work? It didn't just not work. What happened?
She is very elusive, she's very protective. Apparently she's lived on that piece of property all her life, and she did not want to leave. And
So she would scale like, how big, how tall were those panels and fences y'all built and barriers?
The first thing she jumped was about a 4.5 foot gate. And I knew about 10 seconds before she did it that she was going to. And she just barely clipped it with her back feet. So then we built the pins out of cattle panels, which are about 6 foot. And she went over that without much problem. And so then I went around and picked up aluminum gates off the property, wired those up on the existing cattle panels to make it about 7.5 foot tall. And I thought, well, she can't jump over this, but I left a little gap about like that. We got Jan and Dusty in there, and there was a bull, and I'd called some cowboys that were gonna come help us load them up the next morning. We already had the trailer backed up. So about 7:30 the next morning, I told Carol, I'm gonna run down and make sure they're still in there before the cowboys come. And I got down there, and Jan was standing outside the pen, but she wouldn't leave Dusty. She was just standing outside. So I thought, well, I can get her back in with some range cubes, but I have to open the pins back up. So I need Tommy to bring another panel or two over there so we can block the bull and Dusty in. And so I went to the house, got something, called Tommy, went back down there, met Tommy at the gate. As we're driving in, Dusty and Jan are going to the woods. So Dusty had jumped out. Jan's just very alert. She's aware of her surroundings. She does not want to be in a pen. Later on, after the fact, the man that I bought her from, he said, I didn't tell you this when I sold her. He said, but I've tried to sell her before, and we never could keep her in the pens.
I mean, he'd come home and I would be like another, episode. And we're like, what happened now?
Yeah.
Now what?
Yeah.
Really? She did it again? And
Every time it happened, it didn't surprise me. It just did not surprise
Tommy
me.
would come home and you'd just be, I don't know what we're gonna do. We're gonna have to get those cowboys over there. We're gonna have to dart them. We're gonna have to do this. We're gonna have to drag them. Renee, I don't want you over there watching. It was over and over and over.
Well, I went over one day with our grandson, Aaron, and we were watching from a distance when they were trying to work all this out, and they had Jan and Dusty in the pen, or maybe just Jan, and I heard this this noise, and I just saw this big body go over. You remember, Tommy, we were at a distance, and I thought, oh, that's not good. You know, it didn't work again. And I told my grandson, I said, well, maybe next time. He said, what just happened? And I said, well, it just didn't work this time. You know, we're gonna get back at it, but.
And see, there was another time too. You put the panel on front of the tractor and narrowed the chute down, and then had the tractor running, got them used to coming in, feeding them in there, and then ran the tractor up where we almost pushed them into the trailer, and then Jan just bent the front of the cattle pen in half and left.
I wish we'd had all that on camera.
Just bent it back and went on.
Bent the whole thing, just
The cattle pound.
used her whole body and broke it. One of our panels?
One of the cheap ones.
Hey, our cows have broke some panels, let me tell you.
We owe you some.
No, you just
No,
don't
no,
worry
no.
about it. You don't owe us some panels. I mean, that's just part of the cost of doing business around here. I mean,
And after I talked to him about buying Jan, the next day I went down to feed. The only ones there were, no, there were several there. But I fed Jan and Dusty came over there and she wouldn't let the other big cows or the bull push Dusty out of the way. So I thought, well, you know, I can't separate them. So I called him back and I said, all right, I want to buy her bull calf. What are you gonna sell me that for? He gave me a price and I said, okay. So now we've got 2 other cattle and nowhere to put them.
It's pretty amazing that y'all found Rowdy Girl from Missouri County, and then we moved, what, 5 to 7 miles from there.
That was wonderful news.
And
Meant to
you
be.
guys made it all possible.
On that
We
last
did.
day, y'all did it and brought them over here, and
I was never so happy to see them cows come through.
Us too. We know they're in the right place, we know they're safe, but every time we pass the property going up to our house, we just automatically turn and look,
Oh.
you know.
Yeah, we do
It's
miss
just
them out there.
such a habit, we're not over.
Well, you're right here. You can come anytime, right? We'll go
Yeah.
ride out the Kawasaki mule and sit down and feed them range cubes.
That's,
But we do miss them. I mean, you know, it was every day we went down to feed them.
And so, they're gonna be here, you know, until the day they die. You know, how does that feel to know that, you know, these animals will just live their life? I mean, they're already getting used to the place. I mean, you can see them getting used to things, and the noises and the other animals, and, you know, we've never, since we've been to Sanctuary, we've never put cows just out with the herd like that before. Because we have a protocol typically that we quarantine, you know, for 30 days, but we knew that the cost of quarantining them outweighed the risk, because if we would have quarantined them, they probably would have jumped a fence.
Good chance.
Yeah, and so we couldn't risk them getting lost into another field somewhere, being part of another, and that would have been a whole other problem. So, but they're doing good, you know.
well, she's a real rowdy girl.
yeah, she
And
is.
she's where she
She fits
should
in.
be. Yeah, she does fit in, and it's real comforting to know that an animal with her, I don't know how to label it, her temperament, her the way she feels about other animals, that she gets to live in peace the rest of her life. That means a lot to me. And her little guy, who's got this long life ahead of him, gets to live in